Hey, welcome back, guys. Last night, we had a terrible windstorm. Um, Trees came down all over the place. My neighbor's house actually had a giant 50-foot willow come down on top of their fence in their backyard. We're gonna go look around and see what damage is like. And funnily enough, I'm down here in the old man's trail, and all the leaves are in the same spot they were. So let's talk about windbreaks and how powerful and important windbreaks can be for protecting your food forest. I actually lost no fruit trees. It helps that most of them lost their leaves, but this is the north side of this lower area. And this is basically our wind direction. So this whole entire lower area is like a basin, and it's protected by these giant cedars. And the winds hit these and go up over top of them and circumvent right over the valley. So while giant 50-foot trees were felled last night all over the place, and we did lose this ash that was basically dying, so this came down, but the leaves are intact. Isn't that crazy? So this is the power of using windbreaks in your systems. We have almost no damage at all, and the wind just came right up over this valley. All right, this is kind of cool. This is the exit of the food forest. And we've got some cedars that kind of came down here. And I can't get through, so I'll have to push my way through. Interesting. Maybe we can come around. I just really want to make sure that there's no trees that are kind of half fallen down that could fall on me. Like, look, this is crazy. If you look up here, you can see this one. It's hard, the light's going down, but this one snapped in half and hasn't fallen down yet. So have to be careful with stuff like that because it could crack off and break and kind of come at me. So I'm just gonna quickly get out of the area. Look at this. That is crazy. Ripped that tree right out of the ground. So that is what's blocking my path. Holy smokes. Crazy. So isn't it nuts that the wind was able to take a tree like that out of the ground, but the leaves in my old man path didn't rustle around and blow anywhere? That's the power of windbreaks. Got a couple more trees down here at the dock. Looks like a few fell over there in the river. Overall, I guess not too bad. Oh, and it looks like my willows are okay. These are those beautiful willows down at the wetland. It looks like they're okay. We've got an ash or something that's fallen over there, but my willows seem fine. That makes me happy. Okay, I also want to quickly talk about water because I had some comments on water here. This lower area is fed from some of the upper lands here that are kind of all around it, and even on this side here. Now, I really pound on this channel that observation is really key, and I've been down here in big snow melts to see where the water not only pools but runs as then it goes to pool. And a lot of these beds have been put specifically on contour in areas to capture and hold that water. So let's quickly talk about the highest part of the land to the lowest. The general slope is that it travels this way down here and then towards the river. So it kind of goes this way, and then on the backside it kind of goes down a bit. So let's go show you how I'm using the terrain in order to capture and soak as much water as possible. Okay, so first things first, the water comes down this hill like this, and I wanted to really wrap this swale around across contour to capture and hold that water. Some of it might roll down this path and kind of continue down the path, but then it's going to hit that swale on there. So all the water is going to collect in here. The second place that water collects down here is basically right where this tree fell. So water comes down the hill and pools in this low area. So now before it hits there, it's hitting this big, like super sunny garden bed, and that's going to soak and hold the water, especially in those winter melts. And the plants in here will be able to get as much water as they want, but underneath kind of it'll eventually trickle into this hugelkultur area. So the trees are just uphill of that, and they'll be able to access that water but not be drowned. So this bed is in this very specific place that it is for that exact reason. It's not just haphazardly laid out that way, because I could have done it in chunks anyway, but I wanted to block off that water flow, and I wanted to put it up just uphill of the very low point. So what happens when this overflows? Where does it go? All right, I'm running out of light. I'm trying to do quick videos after work hours. This winter and the short daylight hours is really hard to do videos. So when this overflows, it basically goes right through this cedar underneath, and it'll flow this way, which this bed is catching, and it'll flow down this way here, which this bed is catching. So this whole entire bed here is also in sun area, but it's also at kind of a local low. The actual low is right here against these apple trees, and same thing, it's just a little bit uphill, because I could have extended this bed out and put the leaf pile right on the wet spot, but I wanted it just a little bit uphill so that the tree roots can access that if they want, but they can stay dry also if they want as well. And being a cross contour like this, as it goes up a bit, this part's not quite on contour, but this part, especially right here, will block any of the flowing water from this way, and it'll just kind of soak it up. And it could be the future spot of a little micro pond in here somewhere, so I always have that option. Let's quickly talk about what happens when this area overflows. Does it go to the river? It actually doesn't. It actually goes down back around there, and this is why observing your land is super important. Okay, so here we are just a little bit up ahead, and any water that up and overflows here kind of comes down here and it collects right and around here. Also, any water that's coming down from, this is the overflow of the pond. So the whole pond will overflow into the river system, and it'll fill the basin that's kind of right there. When that underground reservoir overflows, like in a huge snow melt or spring massive flood storm, then it will overflow and come down here. This is tarped and rocked, so it'll come down here and hit this low area where it then slowly can spread. I want to take that velocity out. I could have run swales back and forth, but this was like a quick and dirty solution for now. You might in the future see a swale going back and forth through Wildflower Hill, but for now we wanted it getting down vertical without doing any damage, as little as possible, under a tarp and rock, and then it hits the lower area, and now where it loses its velocity, we can kind of channel it and direct it. Part of it will go into this berm, some of it might come across this pathway, but then it's getting stopped in this swale here. So this swale here, this is contour right there, and this swale here, or not swale, but raised bed, will capture and store that water. I'm losing my light. It'll capture and store that water before it eventually trickles over just around this backside here. So this backside could be an area where I put in a little micro pond back here. It'll eventually overflow and just go straight down right about there into the river. But I think with all of this soakage that we've installed, it's almost going to be impossible for any water to actually leave my land. All these beds will soak that water up and store it. So that's this area, water and wind. So the wind breaks in this area, these giant tall cedars here, giant cedars there, big cedar here, the wall of cedars there, here, and it kind of wraps right around. This footage is probably not going to be usable. It's getting too dark too fast. And it's cedars all around here. So this is a perfect area with windbreaks all around it. And you can tell we had like a huge storm. I think the winds were 80 to 100 miles an hour, and we have leaves that haven't even been displaced from the walking paths. The walking paths are still clear. Pretty crazy. Well, that's it, guys. I'm sorry I've lost my light. It gets dark too fast. You know, I'm way up north here. We don't have very long days this time of year. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Forgive the poor video quality with the low light conditions. Hopefully this video did teach you something about maybe installing some windbreaks, some cedar hedges. It's good early nesting sites for birds, and it provides really great wind protection as well. And then think about where your water collects and moves, and put beds cutting across on contour to stop, collect, and hold that water. Those snow melts are a tremendous source of water. Don't lose them, store them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.